This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock has tips to protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report phishing, and update the software on your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, let LifeLock alert you to suspicious uses of your personal information. LifeLock also fixes identity theft, guaranteed or your money back. Stay smart, safe, and protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
This is the HCM Technology News Roundup from the HCM Technology Report. It's Monday, December 27th, 2021. I'm Mark Pfeffer with this week's news and a conversation about ransomware with Tim Eads, CEO of the security firm vArmor. But the news first. Recruiting platform Paradox raised a $200 million Series C investment round. The round was led by Stripes, Sapphire, and Thoma Bravo. The company's AI assistant helps employers automate candidate screening, interview scheduling, onboarding, and other tasks through a simple mobile experience. Paradox has worked with more than 500 clients around the world. Korn Ferry launched Korn Ferry Intelligence Cloud, a talent analytics platform. Intelligence Cloud combines data with the company's consulting expertise and its intellectual property. It's designed to help solve the challenges involved with acquiring, managing, and mobilizing the right talent and skills. Corporate spending on HR technology rose 57% in 2021. That's according to Sapient Insight's HR Systems Survey. The survey found that an average of 16 HR systems were used by most organizations this year, up from 10 systems in 2020 and 9 in 2019. Applicant tracking systems also expanded by 62% as more employers spent more money on recruiting solutions. Talent intelligence platform Searchlight closed a Series A round of $17 million. It was led by Founders Fund. The company also launched its talent intelligence platform designed to aid hiring teams in assessing and retaining quality hires. The platform offers companies the ability to measure and improve the quality of hire, the company said. And finally, TriNet has signed a definitive agreement to acquire Zenefits, a people operations platform designed for SMBs. The seller is Francisco Partners, a global investment firm that specializes in partnering with technology businesses. Details of the stock and cash transaction weren't disclosed. The Zenefits platform provides HR, benefits, payroll, and employee engagement software. And now Tim Eads, CEO of the security firm vArmor. We're going to talk ransomware. Tim, thanks for being here. We're focusing on what happened to Kronos, and I wondered if you could start by telling me what happened.
Well, Kronos is a regular ransomware attack, right? It's we see these around the world now all the time. I was talking to a service provider yesterday, a small managed service provider, actually focused on healthcare. And two of their customers get hit by ransomware every single week. And so it's kind of, I know obviously in the pandemic, everybody talks about the new normal. Ransomware is the new normal for organizations. And being ready for it is a mindset as well as a practice and a program that you have to implement. And this is a key wake-up call for kind of like the HR systems as a community and the HR folk to, but it's another ransomware. You're going to hear about this probably every 48 hours for the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years, whatever the time frame is.
Can you explain, what the impact has been on Kronos? I mean, it sounds like the hackers got to their data.
They get to the data, they compromise the data, they hold the HR information, but they hold the information back, and obviously they hold the organization for ransom that they obviously give the information back. But the thing that's has been increasing over recent years is the realization of value of the data being held by the HR systems. I've been in cybersecurity for 20 plus years, and we started out with these worms that went propagating around the world. What started out, but they were very popular back in the day. And then we went after the financial records of things like that. And I had my identity stolen a bunch of times. but the HR systems are now, crown jewels for the hackers. They can go after them. They have very sensitive information and can do massive reputational damage to the organization if they're released out into the wild. And so, but some of these healthcare organizations have nowhere near the budgets of the banking organizations that have been the typical target. So you got a challenge where the HR systems are now a great target. The HR community don't have the same budget issues. And so, and yet these attacks are more prevalent and they don't have the same security programs.
I don't know how familiar you are with all the various HR and HCM platforms that are out there and workforce management platforms that are out there. I'm wondering if you think they're particularly vulnerable to this kind of attack. You touched on this just now, talking about security, but I'm wondering if the HR solutions are particularly vulnerable.
I think they are for a couple of reasons. One, a lot of them are legacy and old and are held back in legacy systems. Even the new ones, the human capital management side, they're not. It's completely different to a payment gateway at a bank. A payment gateway at a bank is used to being attacked, right? The large databases, they are used to being. They have been made more resilient over the last 20 odd years of attacks. These HR systems are not, because they haven't been selected as a main attack or main target for as long as the banking systems, as long as the payment gateways, as long as the financial systems. They're not as resilient and they don't have the same programs. So yeah, I think they're vulnerable for two reasons. One, they're a big target now, and clearly the hackers are woken up to going after them. And two, because they don't have the budgets, like I said earlier, and they don't have the depth of years of being attacked. So that we always talk about defense in depth. If you've been a target for a long period of time, you have had a whole series of different types of protection mechanisms and detection mechanisms, and these guys don't have it quite so much.
Now, given that you think that this is going to happen pretty regularly for the next several years at least,
for sure.
Is the technology of cybersecurity in general up to dealing with all of this, or does it need more of an investment in time and money?
Well, that's actually the good news on this, right? I mean, I'm not going to be the guy that runs around saying, "Well, bad things happen because of cyber," but I mean, there is actually a silver lining here, and it's very clear. Right? The things that's happening in cybersecurity is quite interesting. The old tools are showing their age, right? And so a lot of the old tools that if they had to deploy them are just old, they're complex to manage, they're difficult to install, they're difficult to operate sometimes. They're not made as intuitive as they are now. The modern day tools, right? The tools that you're seeing that getting heavily invested in, that you've seen lots of venture companies getting invested in at the moment, is because they're simple and intuitive and easy to use. And so that means that you can operate them at a lower human bandwidth level. It means that your time to value is easier, and it's much more simple to implement. And so, yeah, I think the tooling is easier, which means that the manpower and the training is more simple. And you don't have to use the legacy tools because the new tools are easier and more simple. And they're faster time to value, right? So with the rise of APIs as a kind of a core play, this gets a lot easier to do. So that's the good news. And then the other part of that is when you start your security program around some of these tools, or when you're inspecting or re-inspecting your security program around these tools, just by starting by discovering visibility and having the observability of what is going on will allow you how to build upon a security program. So, everybody talks about zero trust, even Biden's talking about zero trust. But it starts with the basic thing of understanding what's going on in your environment. And you can use modern tools, some of which you can install in 10, 15 minutes, and you'll get visibility very, very quickly. So that's the good news. You can do it. And it's a way cheaper, way easier to use, much more intuitive than ever before.
Realistically, I mean, this stuff, these platforms are sort of under the day-to-day purview of the IT department.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, how can HR departments protect themselves and their data from this happening?
Well, I think they play an essential role, right? You're going to see this emerging category coming out called HDR, Human Defense and Response, right? Where the training tools for their employees that can be pushed out through HR programs can be pushed out to the employees and give real-time training. See, the thing is about, the human vector is still the biggest entry point, obviously, right? So if you can train your employees, in real time of what they're doing wrong. Let me give you an example. Mark is working in an environment and he steps on malware. And Tim is working in the same environment, but I get a phishing attack. If when you step on that malware or when I do the phishing tools, there are programs that are being pushed out by the HR teams to train you specifically on malware at that point in time, that in-moment training. And me for phishing, the effectiveness of that training has been dramatically increased rather than running an annual program, right? I'm saying you still have to do your annual programs, but the HR people can run programs now that will drive in-moment training and much better, much more effective training programs to drive a better security culture, because securing the organization is everybody's responsibility, right? But you have to be aware of what you're doing, and these programs are there now available to do that. And you're going to see HR programs, I believe, endorse this new category called HDR.
It's interesting. You just said you mentioned that security is everybody's responsibility, but does everybody know that?
That's a great question. Obviously, I'm biased because I've been in security a long time, and and I would say it doesn't mean even at your household. Whether you have my wife, I don't have kids, but if I have kids, securing the household is everybody's responsibility. You should always shut your front door. You should always lock the doors when you go out around around the neighborhood or whatever you're doing. You should always keep an eye out. There's a thing called neighborhood watch, right? It's everybody's responsibility. Are they aware of it? I think some people have selective memory disorder, but I think it's part of your onboarding in an organization, part of your ongoing human capital management program. I'm sure training is part of that, but the security training should be at the forefront because it should be a part of everybody's responsibility. But then I keep coming back to, if you can train people in moment, the effectiveness of that will be way better.
Tim, thanks very much for stopping by today.
Very nice to meet you. Always fun to catch up.
And that's it for this week. The HCM Technology News Roundup is produced by the HCM Technology Report. We're a publication of Recruiting Daily. The Roundup's also a part of Evergreen Podcasts. To see all of their programs, visit www.evergreenpodcasts.com. And to keep up with HR technology, visit the HCM Technology Report every day. We're the most trusted source of news in the HR tech industry. Find us at www.hcmtechnologyreport.com. I'm Mark Pfeffer.
The world's best-known investor and Wall Street expert Warren Buffett once said, "Wall Street is the only place that people ride to in a Rolls-Royce to get advice from those who take the subway." Mr. Buffett's quote is remarkably accurate, but how many people would rather receive advice from him than someone simply guessing? Welcome to Buy, Hold, Sell, your single source for Wall Street knowledge and profitable guidance. Please join me, Todd Schoenberger, and fellow trader Tobin Smith, as well as host Veronica Dudo, for a podcast known to move the needle for investors. Tobin and I are seasoned Wall Street executives with deep investment experience, and we are prepared to share our advice to those who choose to listen. Download Buy, Hold, Sell today on the Evergreen Podcast Network or your favorite podcast channel.
Faith in the news media has been challenged, making it even harder to get stories told. The Friday Reporter podcast was created to help audiences better understand the media by hosting journalists who will answer the questions to which we need answers. Join me every Friday to hear more.